1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and today I'm going to be going over the 9.20.1 vehicle rebalances in this water tanks article, and hopefully I'm going to be able to summarize them for you and basically just give you a breakdown of like what's happening in the next batch. But as this little thing here says, all the changes are still subject to change, and yeah, they could still change in the testing environment before they're actually released onto the live server. So let's just go through the details here now. So as for the heavy tanks, the Carnarvon is losing both of the 20-pounder guns, and it's going to receive a vastly improved turret. And this is primarily to make it a little bit more distinct from the Centurion, because right now in the game it's pretty much just a bad Centurion. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes the changes for the Carnarvon, because it doesn't get any like whole armor changes. It's just the turret and the gun being improved. And by the way, just to give you an idea of how crap the old gun was on the Carnarvon, this one here has an extra 50 damage per shot, and it has a faster reload according to the stats I saw in this video here when I was watching it. So yeah, that just gives you an idea of how shit the gun was for the Carnarvon prior. As for the Conqueror is receiving some turret armor buffs. It's getting two 40mm basically spaced armor zones that are going to be placed like here and here. It's kind of like the Super Conqueror turret, pretty much a tier 9. That's how I would summarize it. And the upper front plate is being improved by, it looks like, about 20mm in order to make it a little bit more resilient versus more shots. Although I have found that this area of armor is actually really strong anyway, so I don't know if this was really necessary, but hey, a little extra armor never hurts. So yep. So this will make it a little bit better in regards to like dealing with heat rounds and stuff like that there, and explosive rounds. So that'll be nice for the Conqueror. And for the Super Conqueror, oh, and by the way, I should just mention the FV215B. The paper tank that was not actually real. Following the footsteps of the Foch 155, it's going to rejoin the ranks of the special vehicles, and the Super Conqueror is going to take its place. So you are going to get the FV215B as a special vehicle if you have it already in your garage when the Super Conqueror arrives on the live server. So yeah, that's good to know. And I should just quickly mention that they've actually, in this video, they mentioned they're potentially going to change the FV183 Death Star to something else a little bit more representative of the Tortoise line, the Tortoise line's playstyle. Because if you've played the Tortoise line, you know it's a huge change from the previous tanks whenever you go to the Death Star. Like, it's just like all slow, massive rate of fire, lower alpha damage guns. Then suddenly at the Death Star, you get the exact opposite. You have like, well, I would say for a long time it had like no armor, but these days it does have some armor on the turret, but it's just a complete like change in playstyle. It makes sense as to why they're doing it, just trying to like unify the playstyle, which is generally their goal at this point in time. Just trying to unify the playstyles and make them a little bit more consistent for players. So yeah, and I should just mention that both the Conqueror and the Carnarvon are both losing both 20-pounder guns because, well, in my opinion, they're pretty much useless. The 20-pounder guns are crap on heavy tanks, they really are. You feel like you're doing no damage at all. And when it comes to the medium tanks, there was some speculation that the Centurions will get some engine power buffs. I don't see any details about that here, but they are going to get vastly improved turret armor. I mean, look at the difference, 140 to 170 to 240, 250. That's a huge buff. That's absolutely massive. So these things are going to become vastly more survivable. And I think this little area up here is also getting improved a bit in order to unify it with the Prima Victoria, which can't be overmatched on the roof either. As for the Centurion Action X, it's getting very similar buffs, except it's getting an extra like 20mm on its toughest zones. It still has the big cupola and stuff, but yeah. It looks like this thing's actually going to be able to like, tank a couple shots with its turret now. In terms of this thing here, it looks like this thing is actually getting this. The FE4202, by the way, is what I'm talking about. The FE4202 seems to be getting a very similar turret armor model to the Centurion Action X. Because, well, if you look at the two of them, they do have a very similar turret. I think this is like a slightly more, a slightly earlier stage of the same turret. Because it does look a little smaller on this turret. This turret looks a little smaller, but has a larger cupola, whereas this one here has no cupola, well, a very small cupola in comparison. But this turret, you can see the differences when you're looking at them face on. This turret seems a little taller down here, but this one here seems a little shallow. Like it seems like the guns place slightly lower on this turret, but there's a larger cupola. This one doesn't. So yeah, you get one. You get the gist of what I'm saying. And this one's also getting an extra or no, not an extra 650. This thing's also getting a 650 horsepower engine. I think currently it has like a 500 horsepower engine. So that's going to make a pretty damn big difference to the FE4202. So this is actually a really nice buff for this tank because its main issue for all this time it's been out has been the crappy engine power. It just hasn't been able to get around the map as quickly as you'd want to. Plus it's getting a massive turret armor buff, so this thing could get very, very good next patch. So it may actually be worth picking up. So let's go on to the alternative branch of TDs. So to summarize, the Challenger is basically going to get, I assume, like this is speculation, I assume it's going to get the 32 pounder that the Carnarvon's getting. The Carnarvon's getting a 280 alpha damage 32 pounder gun. I'm thinking that the Challenger is pretty much going to get a tank destroyer variant of the same gun, but because it's getting such a significant firepower increase, they're actually going to reduce the full turret down to a 120 degree cone. So you're not going to be able to like turn the turret the entire way around, fire at your target and run away like hell. You're actually going to have the front of your tank pointing towards the enemy, so you won't be able to just like fire and then run away at top speed immediately. Like that's I think the goal with this here, because Challenger would be extremely powerful if it was able to do that there. As for the Charioteer is basically getting double the gun depression it has currently. So it's going from 5 degrees to 10 degrees, which is a gigantic increase. No other real changes to that vehicle because it's already a really, really good, solid vehicle. The Conway is getting improved overall mobility, and it's also getting some turret reverse speed increases. And it's also getting a new gun, the 5.5 inch AT gun, capable of dishing out 600 alpha per shot as an alternative gun. And it says slightly differently here. Like it says it's also getting increased mobility and stuff like that there, but it says the ladder gun depression minus 10. The ladder, in other words, the gun depression is getting set to minus 10 degrees. But from the video, I got the impression the minus 10 degrees was only going to apply to the 5.5 inch 600 alpha gun. But the way this reads, it seems like it's going to apply to both the 120mm and the 600 alpha gun. So we'll have to wait and see on the test server how exactly that works out. So yep. And in regards to the actual turret, this seems to be like a general trait. The Challenger is losing its full turret. I don't know if the Charioteer always had a full turret. It doesn't seem to have any details of it like losing the full turret. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening with that one. But it seems like all these vehicles are basically being reduced from having full turrets to having partial turrets like the FE4005 has. So yeah, and it's going to be limited to 180 degrees of traverse, which basically means you'll be able to point your gun directly to the side, not to the back, and just like 180 degree cone to the front of the vehicle. So yep, I think that's pretty much everything for the Conway. Anything else I'm forgetting about? But yeah, it is a little strange how it says minus 10 degrees for gun depression, but it does make it sound like in the video that the 10 degrees is only going to apply to the 5.5 inch gun, and I think I already mentioned it, but it's also going to get improved mobility to go along with that. So onto the FE4005. So the FE4005 is getting 10 degrees gun depression. It's getting the cone of, basically the cone for its firing arc is being increased to 180 degrees. I think I mentioned it's getting 10 degrees gun depression. It's also, it says increased durability, but I'm not sure if that's a typo. I think it might mean mobility, because it says following a boost in mobility, it can retreat to safe locations and positions, unfavorable positions faster. But it says increased durability here, although it does say we patched its fatal weaknesses. I'm not sure what to take away from this here. It could mean that the fatal weaknesses were its mobility, or it could mean that the fatal weaknesses was the like paper thin turret, which is like 13mm or something like that there thick. So not exactly sure what to take away from this, but either way, it's getting increased mobility, it's getting an increase to its gun traverse limits, it's getting an extra 10 degrees gun depression, or not an extra 10 degrees gun depression, it's getting its gun depression increased to 10 degrees, and it's getting an extra few shells of ammo, up to 20 shells rather than I think 12 it was before, 12 or 14. So some pretty serious buffs to all these vehicles. Some nerfs to compensate, but overall I think the vehicles are going to get a little better just in general. So yeah, and there's the changes to the charioteer just listed there. Although it just strange all the others are getting their turrets reduced from full turrets to partial turrets, and there's no mention of that happening to the charioteer. So I wonder how exactly that's going to go. So hmm. Let's see, anything I'm forgetting about for the FE 4005, 20 degrees, or no, 20 shells, 10 degrees gun depression, 100. Oh yeah, that's right. Well, along with the increased mobility, it's also getting better gun stabilization, so now you can actually fire the gun a little bit more reliably. You won't have to aim as long, so you won't have to sit exposed for as long. So yeah, we'll have to see exactly how this thing turns out on the test server. So in regards to the tier 10 light tanks, the tier 10 light tanks like the Sheridan and the MX-13105 are getting their alpha damage buffed from 360 to 390, making them a bit better at dealing out the damage. In terms of the Panzerwagen, the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, it lost 40 alpha, now it only has 320 alpha, but it also has a faster reload and improved gun handling stats, so now it'll actually be able to snipe more reliably and won't have to worry about missing shots as often. So overall, I'm not really sure what the effect that will be, what effect that will have on the Panzerwagen, because it is going to be better sniping, but it's also going to lose a little bit of alpha damage. It is getting a rate of fire increase, but a lot of the time you're only going to get one shot off in this game, so I'm not entirely sure if this is going to turn out to be a buff or a nerf. It's going to be a little interesting to find out. And in terms of the T100LT, it's getting a rate of fire buff, but it doesn't give you any kind of details on how big that will be. Because it says we're punching up the DPM to turn it into an active scout that can give as good as it gets. So this could either be like an alpha damage change, but I'm assuming it would probably be a reload speed change. So let's see, and all 5 of the tier 10 light tanks, including the Panzerwagen, the 551 Sheridan, the T100LT, 13105, and the WZ1321, are getting larger ammo capacities so that they can actually fight until the end of the battle rather than have to worry about running out of ammo, which is entirely possible with these vehicles because they do not have a large ammo capacity. As for the American light tank line, like what's happening with that, the current T71 is being renamed to the T71DA, which I'm assuming means like Detroit Automotives or something like that there. And then there's T71 CMCD, which a lot of people were assuming was going to become a premium vehicle. Instead, became a standard vehicle that is now going to just be from the T37. It'll be the T71 CMCD to the M41 Bulldog. Whereas on the other line, it'll be the T21 to the T71DA, which is the autoloading one, to the T69. So the basic point of this is to basically streamline the playstyles between the vehicles. I'm not sure like what exactly they're doing in regards to like this line here. I'm not sure if they're going to like add like an autoloader to the T21. That in my opinion would make some sort of sense to do to like better prepare people. But from the looks of this here, they're just going to like have T71DA to get you used to having an autoloader, T69 yet again same thing, and then all the others have autoloaders as well. And because this is basically going to be the single shot gun line, the M41 Bulldog is going to lose its autoloader. So no more autoloader for the M41. Doesn't mention anything about T37's autoloader. I don't even know if it still has it. Actually, I haven't played it in quite a while. But yeah. And in regards to the XP you've earned on the what is currently the T71, which will become the T71DA, it's exactly the same tank, it's just going to have a slightly different name. All your XP from T71DA is going to be transferred to the CMCD after 9.20.1. Also, there will be no transition between T71 CMCD and T69. So, yeah, basically what this means is T71, like, you know how the T71 used to be, or the T71DA would just be called T71. That would both branch off to the T69 and the M41 Bulldog. Those links have been removed. Same for the M41 Bulldog link to the T54E1. Those links have been removed, so now they're two distinct lines. There's no links between them except like down here. There's a slight link, but above tier 5, there's no links whatsoever between the two lines. So there's no way of like cutting between two lines. So that's pretty much everything in regards to that there. So yeah, now we're on to the Chinese premium tank buffs. So the 59 patents I just wanted to go over. It's getting an extra 32 penetration to its to its standard rounds. Actually, is it 32 penetration? I think it goes from like 190 to 212. Never mind, that's 22. A bit of a mistype on my part, so it's 22 penetration extra, not 32. The T-34-3 is getting its armor improved to be on par with the Type 59, so that's pretty nice. It's going to be, I would assume, because it doesn't specify the turret or the hull, that's going to include both. That's what that means in my head. At least that's what I'm hoping, if I'm completely honest, because I would like T-34-3 to have some better hull armor. That's its honest mean. That's honestly its main weak point, and it's also going to have slightly improved gun handling capabilities. And for the Type 59 itself, it's going to have improved aiming time and gun stabilization, so it's able to more consistently engage targets and do damage more consistently than it could previously. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I really had to go over. I'm just going to go through my wee notes here and just see if there's anything I've forgotten about. So last thing I'm just going to mention, I think I've already gone over this, but I'm just going to quickly mention it again. So if you want a Death Star, you may want to start grinding for it now. I would assume it's going to be about one or two patches before that's going to happen, before the changeover is going to happen, because Wargaming is doing this whole process of making the tier 8, 9, and 10 have very similar playstyles and all the different lines. That's why the pushing to the M46 pattern to the M48 F5 pattern are going to have all really strong turrets, because it makes sense going from the tier 8 to the tier 10. So that just seems to be the general way the wargaming is going with the changes. So the Death Star is likely to be on like a very like short time scale in terms of like how long it's going to be available to actually unlock. It's not going to happen this patch. It's going to happen probably the patch after that or the patch after that. So yeah, who knows? They might change. They might update the Tortoise line a little bit to actually make it a little bit more playable, maybe increase top speeds a little bit, sacrifice a little bit of DPM. I wouldn't mind that too much. It would make them a little bit more versatile, a little easier to play. So yeah, that would be my guess for that there. And also, a curveball, which I didn't expect whenever I was watching this here, is at the very end they tease the new French heavy tank line, which they have been teasing for about 4 years. Like, I had honestly forgot they were even working on a second French heavy tank line because they've been teasing it for so long. There's going to be a tier 8, tier 9, and tier 10. They're going to basically be non-autoloading counterparts of the autoloading vehicles we currently have in the game at tier 8, 9, and 10. They're going to have, like in the video, they basically compared them to the T110E5. So that should be pretty interesting. I honestly completely forgot they were even working on a second heavy tank line for the French, because their models were in the game for years and years with them doing nothing with them. But it seems like they were going to finally follow through with putting them into the game. So it looks like the heavy tank line is going to come in 2017. The heavy tank line is going to be the French heavies, not the UK heavies, like I speculated in my FE215B discussion video from the other day. So yeah, let's see, anything else? I can't really think of anything else I really need to go over. So yep, get to grinding if you're looking for the FE250. If you're looking to get either the FE215Bs before they're removed, they could still change their mind on the 183. I think they're probably going to remove it though, from like just general circulation, because, well, not remove from circulation. You know what I mean? Like make it a special vehicle, because it really doesn't make much sense if you look at the rest of the line. All big slow tanks with what's it called? With huge amounts of armor. And then there's the Death Star, which has a huge ass gun, really slow reload, and then it has only armor in the turret. The whole armor is pretty much useless. It's kind of a weird change. It doesn't really make much sense if you think about it. So I would assume they're probably going to go through with the change. And honestly, I actually think the vehicle they're going to replace the oops, I didn't think that was going to be allowed as that. I think the vehicle that they're potentially changing the Death Star with is actually pretty cool looking. I think I saw it back here somewhere. Let's see, that's the Type 59 changes, 59 pattern, T-34-3. Yep, these are the French heavies that they were teasing. Let's see. Hang on, I'll take a wee look through this here again, just to quickly see if I can find. There was some like they did give some images on the new tier 10 French or UK TD. just very, very briefly. It looks like a Conqueror chassis, if I had to guess, honestly. It does look very, very similar to the Conqueror. I'll probably add it in the picture at the end because I don't seem to be able to find it, but yeah. Um, so if you wait like another like 10 or so seconds, you'll probably see it. So yeah, let me know your opinions on this update. Do you think it's going to be a good update? Do you think it's going to be a bad update? Are you happy with these changes, or do you think they're going in a bad direction with all these armor changes and the gun changes and stuff like that there? And yeah, like overall, I think the heavy tank lines are heavy tank line changes are good. I'm a little bit skeptical of the medium tank changes. I think that might be a little too much, basically making the Centurions basically like mini T-32s, which is kind of not really good in my opinion. I don't think we need too many vehicles that are capable of that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, in regards to the tank destroyer changes, I think they're great because we needed something with the tank destroyers. The other tank destroyer line for the UK was never played. No one played that line because no one wanted to go to the Challenger, which was just a gigantic piece of shit. That was like absolutely no one wanted to play. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I really need to go over. So uh, let me know in the comment section below your opinions on all these details that I've gone over. And yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.